Root for the Runt. Written by Zachary Cooper. Written and developed for Lite to animate.
Journal. Writing down how I feel about what has happened and what I did might make me feel slightly ashamed, but is supposedly therapeutic. It all seems juvenile if you ask me. You didn't, but it's my story, so you might as well have done so. What happened, happened, but when I start to feel a twinge of something like guilt, there have been studies of lightening that stress by writing it down. Gaia's spit, that is something weak humans would do. When I get some advice as if writing things down will unburden me, does it do any good? They can't know what will be written, or it might be frowned upon, but who cares? They can't read. If they frowned upon this sort of thing, it would be hard enough to know anyway, because they rarely say anything. They could be plotting your death, or saying nothing and worried about you plotting theirs. These things can't be said out loud, because if someone heard me say them to anyone else, to no one, a shrink, a colleague, or if there were friends that even understood, their plans would change. Some would consider what was done a betrayal or a terrible thing against who one might consider family. Were we family, those with whom a life was shared? For what it is worth, there was some regret. He certainly knows of it, probably. He was one of the good ones. Even though the others just didn't understand me, he did his best. This must be burned when done. If someone took it and had another person, or Gaia forbid, another wolf read it, if it was not down on paper, it could bottle up and burst while there was work to be done for the cause, or it could stop the cause in its infancy. It is best not to embarrass myself in their eyes, or they might cut ties, and they are my life. Is that healthy? Probably not. It is almost embarrassing to remember how weak I was as a cub, but I was reminded of it often during those early years. It knew the best ways to put things into perspective. I didn't know until it was the right time. Strength, 2. Dexterity, 2. Stamina, 1. Charisma, 2. Intelligence, 2. Spirit, 4. Talents, spirits. Health and spiritual energy, 20, 40.
1. Okay, kids, what spirit is the enemy? The Alpha called out to us as teens, away from the prying eyes of humans, in the middle of one of the few tall forests in the territory.
Lad-O,
we answered as usual. Pronounced Lad-O, it is a spirit represented as a spider with its web attached to everything, its many eyes watching to corrupt anything natural. Why? The next practice question in the set. These were indoctrinating questions and answers to keep in our heads. Our alpha, Fox, was a red-haired, short, and tough young adult. His hair made him unique around the area. No one knew of any others around the region with it as a wolf. Brownface spoke up.
it embodies the breakdown of life, bringer of corruption, creator of evil spirits and vampires.
BF said it with conviction, happy he was able to get one question right today, answering before the rest of us. He was the beta of our young pack, which did nothing but stroke his ego. His name came up when he tripped and fell in the mud. It happened more than once, and that name stuck for him. It was not always fun for your pack name or nickname to get stuck. He might have been fast and strong, but he tripped often too. It was the one time we could hit him where it hurt. His failures were part of his nickname. It was a common thing in our pack.
Why do we keep Lado at bay?
Another question in the doctrine spouted over and over.
To protect Gaia and her creation from its wrath.
Tree Shudder answered,
The spirit of the land that created the different planes. designed us as protectors, and everything natural.
Gaia is most often referred to as a mother. Tree Shredder was Brownface's number 2. He lied to the Alpha for him, told him he was right about everything, and backed him up when they were picking on me. His name was because he so often had trouble climbing up trees, but he could with claws in mild warrior form. It was strange he had so much trouble climbing trees because he was good at many other things. Fox answered,
Correct. And protecting Gaia brings progress. And what spirit signifies that change?
The older teen girl spoke up.
Nova.
Monkey Feet continued in her, what some might call, adorable voice. I might be remembering it more fondly than it was.
It signifies change, creativity, and progress.
We all had repeated this line of questions and answers many times during our training. Monkey Feet was an older girl to us as teens and an obvious crush. Her nickname was given to her because she was one of the more athletic members of the pack. She ran a lot and climbed easily, like a monkey. Her pack name wasn't harsh like the rest of ours. She was good enough that she even jumped between trees, showing off more than once. Nova is a spirit represented as a chimpanzee, innovative and adaptive. Each of these powerful representations of spirits are never seen, only discussed and represented through spiritual abilities or rituals. The teacher and Alpha paced back and forth in a forest path. He did not smile or give a gold star to the students. It was based on the expectations of the answers. Different answers were met with scorn.
Alpha, I still don't get it.
Here came the scorn. Asking questions like this drew the attention of the others, not that there was something else to draw our attention in those sparse woods. My small voice at the end of the line was quiet, yet easily heard in a forest away from cars and other material things. It was hard not to hear my own little boy voice, speaking younger than my years from quite some time ago. They called me Runt for many reasons. As a quiet, small kid, my voice meekly asked questions, hoping not to offend anyone. Getting pulled muscles often, even waking from a restless sleep. My early years were rough. My muscles were weak compared to the others. We practiced and trained daily, building our strength, but my body stayed the way it was, weakened. Foolishly continuing,
Why do you keep saying that Lado is the enemy? Wasn't Lado created by and made the world with Gaia?
if eye rolls could be heard, it couldn't be more obvious that everyone, including Fox, was rolling their eyes.
Gaia spit, Runt. Not this again.
Brownface lightly elbowed Tree Shredder and pointed at me. They both giggled as Fox attempted to answer the same type of question yet again. Our Alpha breathed deeply and answered with a heavy sigh, having answered it and other questions like it many times before.
Yes, yes.
He hated calling me by my pet given name, but it was the only signifier for me.
We have been over this. Lad O created the world with Gaia, but turned on her to become that which decays and breaks down, leading to death.
He has said the same thing many times to me, the youngest of the pack. I spoke more quietly still.
Yes, Alpha, but isn't that...
Enough!
Fox growled a bit louder than needed through the forest. As teens, we shook as he continued.
Lad O is the enemy, and it is the way of things. We hunt the creations and corruptions of Lad O and keep Gaia strong.
Feeling the other's gaze upon me, I tried not to curl up into a ball and coil into myself. They just didn't understand.
Today,
Continued the Alpha,
you will chase.
we all groaned.
Not again, Alpha. We can never catch you.
Tree Shredder moaned out. Even Monkey Feet moaned in her tiny voice, producing a giggle from the rest of us.
You have caught me before. You will again. Practice makes better.
The Alpha said, yet again, in one of his mantras. Taking our shoes off, we all repeated his saying.
Practice makes better.
Can we at least do it in running form?
A hopeful question comes out of Monkey Feet. Her head raises, hoping for, yet not expecting, a positive answer.
No, you will run on 2 feet till you catch me. Then, maybe if I feel generous, you'll get a chance to chase me as a wolf. Eventually, you'll get used to the war form, and then we'll try as the beast.
A smile came out from all of us. Not that we thought the chase might be more fun as a big, huge warrior of towering height and sapling-sized muscles. He finished with the rules.
10 seconds head start, no shifting forms, no shoes. If you catch me, you get to do fun things for the rest of the day.
Brownface and Tree Shredder both jumped up and down and did a few jumping jacks to get their hearts pumping. Monkey Feet and I stretched forward and backward to limber up a bit. The Alpha counted down.
3, 2, 1.
He darted out with the speed of a starting pistol. 10 seconds was too long for us to wait. At 6 seconds, Brownface and Tree Shredder sprinted after him. At 8 seconds, Monkey Feet and I got tired of being goody two-bare feet and ran after the rest of them. This larger forested area was where we trained, for the most part, some open areas, but trees to run around and climb. When we got to go into the spirit realm, though, that was lively stuff. There was always something interesting that we learned up there. In the regular material realm, though, we had to run and keep ourselves calm in human form, chasing our alpha barefoot in a wooded area. Stepping on twigs and into holes stopped us for a couple of seconds each time, hopping up and down as though we stepped on a caltrop. At any time, if we were not close to our alpha, we always heard him laugh. It was not if, it was when. It happened often, and it was easy for us to hear him in the quiet of nature. When he did laugh, though, it gave away where he was, and we were able to know what direction to run. The chase wasn't just a game of catching him. He turned back towards the pack of teens often to get us to dive after him as he ran around a tree, or on rare occasion when we worked together, but it happened less and less over the months. After a couple of months of trying to catch him, though, all of our feet had calluses and blisters that made us hurt less and less. With bad feet, though, I was having a rough go of it trying to catch up to the rest of them. The others had been chasing Fox for close to half a year by the time I was old enough to join them. They didn't want me in their pack, but the kids were not asked. Fox brought me in because he had the compassion to try to help me gain strength and be a strong warrior for Gaia. My legs and feet took quite some time to build the additional muscle, and blisters did not heal over like the rest, but just hurt and would bleed more often than built strength. Rarely, if ever, taking the chance to dive for Fox thinking I'd miss or hit my head or arm on a tree. We all have dove for him before, but when I tried, I more often dove into a tree and didn't hear the end of that for a week from Brownface. Brownface had done it 2 days before, but he felt it was ever so much more fun when I did the same thing. It was good that as werewolves our bodies were repaired as we ran and chased. All of the scrapes and bruises we would get would have a long wait to heal if we were human. It wasn't that my body wasn't repairing like the rest, it just took nearly double the time to do the same as it took the rest of them. When stubbing a toe on a tree root and breaking a toenail, it wouldn't fix itself for nearly a day. Not today, though. Today I would not embarrass myself. I was behind all of the teens then, Monkey Feet having passed me shortly after the start as usual. Still trying to catch up, but losing my breath, I slowed down even more just so that I could try to last longer. Since we have been at it for months, I knew Fox did new things every day. Fox turned back after about 3 minutes of running, but darted at an angle back and gave himself away after Tree Shredder stepped into a rabbit hole. He was in between the groups, front and back, but he was nearly 100 yards away in another direction. This put him almost at equal distance from all of us. We all took the bait. Running after him, as always, I was slower than the rest. Fox took to running towards us to give us a bit more of a workout. He bobbed and weaved around us and the trees, and we chased him, laughing sometimes. At other times we yelled at him to slow down, which made him laugh harder. After nearly a minute of running, though, he lost track of Tree Shredder. The other three had been chasing him in one direction, then the other. Fox was mist in a storm. Each time we reached, he wasn't there. 20 seconds after the other three realized Fox had darted off in another direction, Brown-faced looked over at me.
Stupid runt, if you only were fast enough to keep him here, we would have had him.
Monkey Feet and I had no idea what was going on, and a telltale look on her face. She asked,
What are you talking about, BF? You weren't even close, and neither were any of us any of the time.
BF smiled and said,
Oh yes, we were. TS was in the tree above, over there.
The three heard a thud in that direction, and TS ran over to us. TS asked,
Why did all of you stop?
BF answered him,
Because these two dummies didn't go along with the plan.
wanting to scoff so badly it was hard to do so inwardly, knowing the scolding I'd get. MF had no reservations about saying something, though.
Plan. You didn't tell anyone else about this plan. How were we supposed to know? Plus, how did TS stay up in that tree?
BF raised his hands and shushed her. He looked around and whispered,
Shh! It was my idea. He grew claws and climbed while the rest of us distracted him. He was ready to pounce if you two were fast enough.
Tree Shredder's face was losing its hair and muscle, his teeth lost their sharpness, and his claws shrunk back down to the size and shape of regular hands. He tried to hide it, but it wasn't something that was just hidden. It was obvious to all of us that he was shifting back into plain human form. MF tried to slap Brownface, but he saw it coming and grabbed her hand out of the air, but it made him flinch anyway. She whispered back as menacingly as she could.
The Alpha said no forms. If he knew.
BF shot back.
Well, he won't find out now, will he?
She continued.
That is a stupid dummy plan. If he jumped out of the tree and caught Fox, he wouldn't have gotten away with it anyway. You both are dummies. Come on, we are still chasing him. It would have made more sense if you, BF, climbed a tree in human form, and we all chased him to you. If you two were smart enough to let us in on the plan, we could have helped. Stupids.
She ran after the Alpha to try to catch up. Brownface looked over at me.
If only you were faster, we could have caught him today. I wanted to go swimming. Stupid runt.
Tree Shredder chuckled as usual and mimicked his friend.
Stupid runt, you ruined the excellent plan.
They both ran off after Fox. Finally catching my breath after everything so far in the last few minutes, the day had to be like this. It was always so much more fun in the spiritual realm. Spirits were always so much more interesting, even as quiet as they were. Their realm could be made up in any way they designed, by the right designer or by the right spirit with the pull to change an area for us to do different things. When we were able to run around spirit-created areas, sometimes a city without people or cars, or a forest with trees to climb or rip apart with our claws, those were fun exercises. That built our stamina and dexterity, trying to catch the fastest man in our own little world. We didn't just have huge areas where we could practice and be ourselves without worrying about humans, but we could practice almost anything up there. The spirits had representations of so many things in the realm. A marketplace in most territories, the spirit banks, gyms, pools, technical schools where you can pay some spirit money to learn all sorts of things, electronics, survival that we might not learn from the Alpha. It wasn't a place where you would learn business or economics, but you could learn computer stuff. The computer itself could teach you how to use it correctly or how to do nasty things with it. As long as it wasn't dealing with just talking and being smart, you could learn how to open a vault safe, pick locks, how to handle a human gun, or even archery. It was often a dream of mine to get rich and buy supernatural help, nifty weapons, and armor. The spirits are so cool. Making magical stuff, they also showed us how to do it right, and I was so excited to be able to do more when we did more than just train. Often werewolves could learn rituals and spiritual abilities from their alpha and pack spirit, but they could also be bought for the right price as well. Spirits sell things, just were sometimes vague on the cost of using such things. They'll tell you what something is and the price, but not the cost to your body or mind. Being more excited for that than any of this stuff, I tried so hard to build muscle. Working out often and trying to run around the reservation all day, I ran till my heart gave out and healed. Then I ran some more, but it rarely got me anywhere. It had to be what happened to me as an infant. For now we were chasing the alpha, and I had to catch up to the rest. 5 minutes of running later, I didn't know where the others were. Stopping to calm my heart from popping out of my chest, I listened to the forest to see if it would tell me anything. The forest didn't say anything, but I heard someone screech out. And Fox laughed yet again. Doing what I could to at least stay in the area, I jogged closer. Stopping to breathe and listen a minute later, I heard some rustling in the trees less than 50 yards away. Quietly climbing the closest tree, it took longer than usual. Lowering my head, I asked any spirit that would listen if they would lead Fox to me under the tree. Starting to believe that they had done just that, Fox moved like a snake through a nearby set of trees. A smile found its way to my lips, the first one this week. It looked like Fox was looking more on the ground, and he crept closer as silently as a wolf. Without rustling the branches any more than needed, I silently asked the tree to hold me just a little longer without betraying me. Just about to jump, Fox walked 10 paces in another direction, fouling my plan. He stopped around one side of a tree where I watched, and without looking up, he said fairly quietly,
That was pretty good, boy. I don't hear you, but as soon as I smelled you, I knew you were up there. You did that very well, though. Not everything is about being stronger. Practice makes better.
Shaking my fist at the ground, Fox dashed away. I might have been caught, but my lousy luck won out yet again. The rare bit of praise was new, though, from the fire-haired alpha. Fox ran off in another direction, probably where my pack-mates were running. Also, likely they were running in the wrong direction. Fox did have a knack for keeping us in a tighter area than we realized. After another 15 minutes, almost a total hour of running, trying to catch the alpha and failing, he ended the chase. The pack gathered around, and Fox called out,
You didn't catch me today, but you will again one day. Practice makes better.
Wiping the gross sweat off of our foreheads, we breathed heavily. We groaned in close unison.
Practice makes better.
Fox told us,
Okay, let's get back to camp. We can see if someone caught some food, or if it might be fish stew yet again tonight. I might be able to finally show you how to skin something other than peeling the scales off of a fish. There may be some rabbit stew on the horizon as well. They are growing well after the last batch of them escaped.
Brownface interjected.
They didn't escape. Runt let them loose. He doesn't want to eat them. I mean, sure, the meat is pretty lean, but it's still tasty. Are you going to be a vegetarian your whole life, Runt?
Both BF and TS snickered. I slowly leaned my head down from the gut punch that I had just received yet again. Fox continued,
Since I won the chase today, BF, you will clean the rabbit farm. MF, you will meditate and talk to the spirits for guidance. The boy will work out. And Tree Shredder, you will dig the tribe's next dump hole. You will all do these things before dinner.
We all moaned and ugged our way back to the tribe's area. We had miles to walk back. BF and TS scoffed at the injustice of it all. Brownface asked,
Why do I have to do the rabbit's dirty work? That barn smells gross. How do those furry little food balls smell so bad? All Monkey Feet has to do is talk to the spirits, and Runt has to go work out? What sort of punishment is that?
Fox answered,
I don't remember asking what you wanted to do, but okay, let me explain myself to you. You earned your chore today. Tree Shredder earned his chore today by shifting forms when it was against the rules. Monkey Feet is bad at dealing with spirits, and they make her nervous. The boy needs to lift some more weights.
Brownface asked.
But how did I earn my chore?
Fox replied while growling.
It is quiet out here, and I have excellent hearing.
Brownface gulped, but then he threw his good friend under the bus.
It was Tree Shredder's idea. He said it wouldn't be against the rules if he just used his claws.
Fox looked over at T.S., not looking like he wondered even for a second whether he thought it was the truth. Fox said,
I change my mind. You will join T.S. digging the new tribe hole for our dumps. Then, when it is big enough, both of you will clean the rabbit farm. Do you wish to keep talking?
B.F. shut his mouth and shook his head. Fox called out,
Shift into wolves to make it home. I'll put your clothes in my backpack and bring it. I know you might not be in a rush, but B.F. here,
he said, patting the young wolf on the shoulder,
wants to rush home to start his chore, and I don't want to disappoint him. You can walk all you want, but it will still make it faster.
Two. As young pack members, we didn't yet learn the ritual of magically enchanting clothing and other items to shift with us, or disappear into other forms when they aren't worn. It was also a way for items to shift sizes with our forms, allowing us not only to wear backpacks and them melding into forms that can use them, but allowing us to hold weapons in one form, and it gets larger in our warrior form and not meant for a werewolf. A claymore is a large two-handed sword for a human, but if the handle grew in size, it was a large sword in the claws of a werewolf trying to use it. Armor used to be leather and metal and has become made in different materials by humans, but before our skin could be hardened with spiritual abilities, we would need to wear something tougher that increased or decreased in size fitting our bodies before we got into nasty fights. Days after our recent chase exercise, we ran on the track. That consisted of a large, mostly oval shape like many tracks, but was nearly half a mile long and had tree limbs at different points that were meant to be ducked, dodged, jumped over, or whatever came to mind of the person running. As I walked again pacing myself before a short jog since I had trouble breathing that day, I heard Brownface from far ahead.
What, still can't keep up with us, Runt?
Chuckles belted out from both Brownface and Tree Shredder. The young pack members were far ahead, and none of us ever kept up with Fox. Most of the time, a pack-given name, like Runt, was playful, a joke of something for which the person was known. It isn't just a nickname, but a given name and you would be known for years. When my true name was whispered by the spirits to me alone during our naming ceremony, I flinched, not knowing how to react. Telling the rest of the pack members I was not sure if I heard the spiritually given name, they didn't believe me. The others couldn't convince the spirits, or me, to tell them over quite some time what they had named me. A true name given by spirits is something more special. Both Brownface and Tree Shredder came up with my name. Monkey Feet didn't like it, but her heart fell under the two dominant personalities of our young pack. Fox did not like the name either, but he was not part of the ceremony. Young pack members decided by tradition, and pack peers chose these things if there was a name for the ceremony. Other young ones in different packs found that the nickname also stuck after hearing the many stories of my non-exploits when they rarely came by. If one could not be decided, the alpha would choose. There was silent betting that my given name was worse than Runt. B, F and T, S thought of worse names that the spirit must have given me and thought it would be fun to bring them up. Brownface was heard from nearly 100 yards away.
We are going to lap you again, Shrimp, better hurry up. That was it, wasn't it? Sorry, Shrimp? Maybe it was Wimpy Wolfkin, or Old Man Child. Did the spirits make fun of you, Runt?
Fox had added in an incentive to try to get me to speed up or keep up with the rest of them, by making anyone who was lapped by another, do another chore for the week, but it only ended in ridicule when I had trouble breathing and collapsed on the side of the track. Fox rushed over when he saw me fall between the trees, but I could still breathe. Fox stopped until he heard me say he could go ahead. Brownface mocked me again.
Ah, look who had to stop. Alpha has to make special rules because the baby can't jog.
Boo-hoo. T.S. chuckled and pushed B.F. to keep going. Not long after that, however, I had to slow down and even stop. My head swam, and I remember my mouth getting so dry that day. We had only been jogging for 5 minutes and needed to continue for the day. Fox just jogged ahead trying to keep the others moving. Being a werewolf, I would eventually heal and continue, did every time, but it didn't stop the looks as the others lapped me again. T.S. said not too quietly.
Maybe we can lap Alpha too, when he stops again, then he'll need to do a chore this week.
B.F. had a hearty laugh thinking that it was hilarious, and he continued down the track. Fox tried to ignore them, but his inner wolf forced him to compete and train, like it did for the rest of us. I heard Fox's inner wolf after he stopped again, and his eyes darted from me to the rest of them. In his mind, he must have thought,
"This boy isn't my responsibility, the whole pack is, and if Runt needed to be in the pack, the rest of us need to be stronger to make up for his weakness."
Fox shot up quickly and ran. The others couldn't possibly keep up, as his feet made dents in the hard-packed ground. The teasing continued as B.F. ran by again. I was back on my feet trying to walk quickly, but he pushed me to the side, knocking me off my feet. I fell off of the track, twisted my ankle, and braced my fall with my hands on an uneven rock, unluckily laying on the ground, hurting my wrists. The teasing was usual, but sometimes it got out of hand. Fox was not our dad or older brother of the pack, and he rarely interfered anymore. He used to, but he kept on trying to help me speak up for myself. When he did stop the mocking or ridicule directly, hours later it was forgotten and the bullying would start again as though nothing was different. There was often a subject for B.F. to choose when bullying me as a younger, weaker, meekly speaking, often sickly kid. The only things that gave me any comfort were small spirits who stayed around our camp area. If not being mocked trying to live life and be with the pack, I was mocked for being a little goody two-bare feet with the spirits. Often playing with them, speaking to them in their world, and as B.F. mocked, they were my only friends. Monkey Feet and I got along, but any time she tried to be there to help, we both got a vicious tongue lashing from Brownface, or his backup. I lost a lot of muscle barely surviving many years ago, before being found as an infant. Even as a werewolf teen, I was skinny, my muscles didn't form, and I couldn't eat like the rest of them. I ate of course, but couldn't stomach nearly as much as all of the rest, so often getting queasy. I was full quickly yet hungry again soon after that. That wasn't as much of a thing to be mocked, compared to everything else. The alpha has tried to bring confidence to the smallest of the pack, but things had always turned out to be a burden on me as the little one. The pack worked well together. In many practice fights, we had taken down a few small vengeful spirits at a time. The spiritual realm allowed us to practice many duels that would normally be impossible in the regular, material realm. The spirits provided creative means of torture, or training, over the years. The spiritual realm was a strategic battleground of created imagery and spiritual creation. The strength is not written or known of the spirit's capabilities until we share that strength with the pack. Spiritual energy is given to spirit guides, regular communication, and time, bringing it energy to absorb. All of these things strengthen the bond between a pack spirit and its pack. Since I didn't usually feel like being a member of the pack when Brownface was in one of his good moods, usually meaning I was the butt of every joke, I'd leave to the spirit realm to spend time with any spirit around. Entering the spirit realm was simple while we were out in the woods, communing with nature. It was much more difficult in the cities due to the complexity of the spiritual energy which had gotten much weaker over the recent centuries. Cities were usually handled by beings and creations of Nova. Other wolves had gotten used to staying within its territory for many reasons. Werewolves rarely lived in cities, but some still did, along with many city-infused humans who were thought of as creations of Nova along with buildings, streets, lights, and electricity. Wolves would either try to thrive in it to help wolves that lived there, or to help those who found their way into a city, to do the usual work for Gaia. The werewolves considered themselves among the same beings as the people of the nation. I grew up there all of those years, and wondered about cities, but all of the things said of them made me think of different possibilities. Talking to spirits over many years, I wondered why cities were supposedly harder to travel into or back out of the spirit realm. Was that by the design of Nova? Did the spirit representation of innovation force this difference? 3. Our tribe's tent area was about the size of a cul-de-sac with 5 large homes. We lived in large old-fashioned tents that flapped open throughout the day. We didn't truly have valuables that we needed to keep track of that we did not keep with us, and anyone messing with us would be in for a rude awakening. Another pack of 4 lived with us, who mostly kept to themselves, and for the most part, had lived long lives protecting and fighting for Gaia. On rare occasions, they went out to do quests as the spirits required of them. Within a quarter of a mile, there was a river that fed a lake, which flowed away as well. It was prized territory and we guarded it as best as we could. We got decently fresh water from the river feeding the lake, and there were fish in the lake. Anyone other than the tribe trying to fish the lake was rudely directed to go away. A dozen humans lived with us and knew of us. Some were mates of other werewolves, one was a story keeper, one an elder, one tribe lead who had passed his prime, one tended the rabbit farm, one handled the food and water supply. Days after the last chase, Fox caught me trying to spend time with the rabbits again.
You aren't considering letting them go again, right? You know they are just plain terrified of you, right? They smell the predator on you and can't run. They quiver in your hands because when you grab them, they don't just think, they know you are going to kill them. It is why when you release one, it jumps away from you.
Trying to help Fox see my side, I said,
Alpha, I am almost as fragile as these little things here. They shiver until I pick them up and let me pet them, see?
Holding one, it certainly wasn't calm to either of our eyes. It shivered and tried to jump away when I lifted my hand, but then dropped it down again on the rabbit to pet it, preventing the escape. I just didn't want to get it then. Fox tried to convince me of his view as well.
Boy, you will learn, when you get a bit older, you will keep getting hungry if you only eat things we grow or that others hunt. We are big warriors and need to eat to stay strong. The less you eat, the harder it will be for you to grow, and in that case, harder to grow into our warrior form that will help you fight for Gaia. You need food to burn.
Finally asking something that has been on my mind for a while.
What if I am not meant to be a warrior? There needs to be mechanics, or ritualists with us, doesn't there? Or I could learn a bunch of stuff and be a doctor? I think I have a knack for trying to do spiritual things.
I remember feeling like it was hard to breathe, even trying to discuss this sort of thing. The other pack members told me to defend myself to Fox. It was much easier to talk to them than my own alpha. My head and heart pounded waiting on his reply taking too long.
I won't be big and strong like the rest of you. Not to mention what the spirits named me. I'm worried.
Fox raised an eyebrow.
You still won't tell me what they named you, will you? From what I hear, when your packmates were given our names during the ceremony, you were given yours and no one else could hear your name that they called you.
Shaking my head.
No way, it was so mean. I don't know what anyone else would say, even you. I think they whispered it to me on purpose. I don't know what to make of it. Not to mention, if BF&TS got a hold of that info, they'd never let me hear the end of it.
Having done what I could to not discuss my name ceremony with Fox, for some time, he still kept asking. Fox answered this time.
That is part of what we are here to answer, what the spirits have in store for us, and it is up to me to teach you what it is that they mean. I have a lot more experience with this than you. I am here to support and guide. If you even whisper it into my ear, I swear to Gaia herself, that I will not tell another soul.
You swear to me that what the spirits told me, you will tell not another soul, including spirits? I don't want you acting differently with the others.
I swear, they must have told you something serious if you are so worried.
Walking closer to Fox, I fidgeted more than the bunny in my hands. When we got within 5 yards of Fox, the rabbit became squeamish and shook like it vibrated in my hands. Moving closer, the bunny bit down on my hand. After release, it hopped off in any direction that was away from the predator wolf in front of it, or the 2 predators behind it. Fox patted my shoulder stating,
You see, buddy? I even just bathed recently, he easily smelled me as a predator.
Still shaking, I moved closer and whispered in Fox's ear, then stopped after a couple of seconds. Fox's eyes widened when what I said sank in. His eyes met mine for a short time, but then we broke off the gaze. I walked back over to the rabbits trying to hide in another corner, asking,
So Alpha, how should I interpret that?
Fox was perplexed. He wasn't expecting that in general, but it also disturbed him. It took him some time to start a sentence, then try again, then quiet again. Then he tried.
Well, the spirits speak in code and riddles. Who knows what it must have meant?
I remember this feeling burst out of me.
Are you kidding me? How do you think I'm supposed to feel? A kid gets told his name that is meant to be given to him of what his destiny is, what their plans are for him, and he hears that?
I'll need to talk to the spirits about this.
My eyes widened, I almost lost it and ran.
Gaia spit. You swore.
Fox raised his hands in apology.
I swore not to mention your name, but maybe they can guide me to something. I won't mention you or your name, or anything close to pertaining to our name for you. I will keep my promise. Come, today is a big day for spiritual training.
He knew how to dial me down. Smiling as we walked back towards the others, I remember that it was the most fun part of my week when we went over spirit stuff. Not usually if I had to memorize anything, but usually when we talked about them in general, they were just so much more interesting. The rest of the tribe wasn't thrilled when I let the rabbits loose weeks ago, and it took quite a bit of money to get the farm back up, so he followed the process of the small entry and exit rooms so that no rabbits could rush out of a door. Fox made sure the door was closed behind us. Fox started when we reached the others.
There are many types of spirits, but they mostly have a system of types that they are, and they stay in those groups. Spirits dealing with humans usually stay where they are manifested in human territories, but they get around, just like humans. Nova spirits, which are the representation of modern innovation or tech, cars someone builds, repairs, or spends time lovingly caressing, are represented in the spirit realm. Humans, on extremely rare occasions, find themselves there. That usually is because some careless spirit has ripped open a space between their world and ours. It is our place to not only police the creatures and corruptions of Lotto, but to keep the spirits on their side of the realm. Spirits directly coming over into our realm is usually disastrous for Gaia in the form of sickness and destruction, but can also be unexplained forms of human creativity.
Brownface nudged me when I sat with the rest of them, feeling like he just bruised one of my arm bones. He whispered, asking like the jerk he was.
Hey Runt, did you finally take the plunge and kiss one of the food balls today?
I nudged him back with my elbow, but he barely noticed it, chuckling over towards Tree Shredder, who probably didn't hear. They both looked up at Fox to try to play off the teasing. Fox continued when he saw we were all paying attention.
That sort of thing is what the humans used to call a muse, but that is usually a spirit, breaking through their realm to visit, and break what should be whole. Spirits in the same group such as emotional spirits that represent anger, happiness, creativity, and energy, stay in the same group. A spirit of fire might be represented at an electricity plant to get hot to create human energy. Gas spirits have been more prevalent over the last few centuries due to humans finding it to use in their tools and cars. A spirit of water might be in our lake over there, and it could either keep you safe or, if it is angry, might try to drown you.
I remember my stomach churning when he mentioned drowning. I almost did one time years ago. Even though the rest of the pack was watching, I nearly drowned, even though I was a decent swimmer. One of my muscles seized up in so much pain, I could barely move them and was under the water for maybe about 10 seconds until someone from the beach noticed I wasn't coming back up and swam to me. I was thankful, but it was embarrassing. Fox continued.
The spirit realm can be breached by us, because Gaia wills it to be so. You all have broken through to find yourselves in the spirit realm quite a few times, and we will go there again today to do something important. On this, a very special day, we will be finding our pack totem, spirit guide. The abilities and rituals you can gain, and share, grow a lot just with a spirit, helping you along the way. Pack communication is possible through them, they can be a guide for you, and you will see, they are just great. Without one, well, you just will be weaker, and we don't do that, do we?
We answered, with smiles on our doughy faces.
No, Alpha.
The veil between our worlds is very smooth and easy to breach in our territory, it is why we stay in this area to train. We are closer to the spirits in the area and it helps us in general. You will be marked and represented by the spirits before you quest, and they will decide amongst themselves who will choose us as a totem. You will be shown by numbers your strengths and weaknesses in a spirit's eyes, so that they know who needs to represent you. Once a spirit is chosen, they also, most often, have gifts for pack members. Are there any questions before we leave?
Brownface asked.
Why can't we just pick our spirit guide based on how they can help us?
That is not how Gaia wants it. If everyone could choose our own due to the benefit of the spirit, there would be too few representing other aspects of her realm.
Tree Shredder asked.
What is this about gifts?
Each spirit gives different items, or special abilities, but they are very often beneficial to the pack. Almost always one of the first rituals you will learn will be to enchant your clothing to fit to form with you or melt into your body to only form over you when you are human. It is very handy. You won't always be in this very warm climate, and you'll be able to pull out a jacket or sweatshirt if needed. No one will be able to steal your wallet if you melt it into your body to never be available.
Remembering that we didn't care to know anything more, we would finally get to join with a spirit, and gain strength with it and through it. I was more excited that day than ever before. Monkey Feet was excited as well, she was smiling almost as wide as me. When we looked at each other, my face warmed and I looked away. Fox stated.
Very well, if no more, then the spirit that represents us, will be near the lake in their realm. Go there, meet at the lake, and we'll go from there. The spirit there will take information, and leave, representing us to the many dozens of spirits waiting to take us in.
It didn't take long for each of us to push through the veil between worlds to reach the other side. This was one of the few things in which I was good. Pushing through the veil as though it was a paper sheet blocking my way, punching straight through without much effort. I saw that Fox had beaten me to the other side like usual. It didn't take long for each of us to push through the veil between worlds to reach the other side. This was one of the few things in which I was good. Pushing through the veil as though it was a paper sheet blocking my way, punching straight through without much effort. I saw that Fox had beaten me to the other side like usual. MF was right behind us, and so was BF. Tree Shredder had the toughest time breaking through, he worked on his strength more than his spirit, but it only took him a few seconds more, not long to keep anyone waiting for any amount of time. We never walked faster to the lake than on that day, and a spirit waited that looked like a colorless, shapeless humanoid kid. It sort of looked humanoid in shape, only a yard tall, but it had gray and white coloring swirling around lightly through its body. It waited there with a piece of wood and scratched it with a finger as we walked up. The spirit spoke clearly, but in short bursts and in code like other spirits, but it is the most any of us had ever heard a spirit speak in general. It blurted out in the question.
Lake Pack, spirit?
Fox nodded. The spirit looked at Fox, and asked in a questioning tone.
You, member?
Fox answered, yes. The gray coloring in the spirit moved up to what would be its head. It looked at each of us for nearly a minute and scratched a bit on the board. When it scratched on the wood, we all heard how many scratches we each had. When it looked at Fox, it marked on the board a dozen times, but it did not show us what any of it meant. It held the piece of wood close to it and marked a line under the section. When it was done with him, it looked at BF, who struck a pose. The spirit marked some more, nearly 7 times on the board. It stopped at T, S and marked on the board 5 times. It stopped at M, F, and marked on the board 8 times. Each was quick marks, up and down, or side to side. Its head turned towards me, and it stood watching me for longer than the rest, looking up and down. It scratched once on the board, looked back up at me. This was a different reaction than the rest. It marked twice more, but the last marking was longer and its arm moved around more than the rest, but it seemed to be a 3 mark on the spirit's board. That marking number dropped my head like a rock sinking into the lake only yards away, with a kerplunk. BF nudged TS with his elbow, and they both pointed and chuckled at me. I knew an earful of teasing was in my future when the alpha wasn't listening. The spirit walked back in front of us all, looked over the board, over all of us again, and nodded. It finished by saying, "Wait," then vanished. BF dared to whisper, when the alpha walked away for a few seconds, to sit on the edge of the lake. He snickered and spoke quietly.
Hey, nice score, Runt. I'm sure those 3 lines meant that you impressed it. If we get a crappy spirit because of you, you are going to get it.
Hey.
The alpha called, and everyone looked over at him.
Come here, all of you.
We obliged our alpha. He continued.
The number of markings has nothing to do with the score. You all were paying attention nearly as much as I was, and the boys' markings were not a score, and neither were all of your markings. They were just representations. We do not know what that spirit saw in us, only that I am the best, of course.
He said that, finishing with a smile.
I used to have a pack and I have been training for some time. You are still learning and growing. You will surpass me one day, I hope.
He might have been the alpha, but he was also an adult, not some teen like the rest of us. He no longer had a pack, and Gaia had more plans for him, so he was a mentor to our little group of teens. He hoped we would work together a bit more, but he wasn't our master or parent, so he did what he could. Fox continued.
Everyone just sit here, shut up, and listen to the spirit realm, and this lake. You should listen every chance you get to the whispers of the spirits, they are everywhere here.
We sat for too long, nearly 5 minutes went by, and we had not heard or seen the spirit come back. Tree Shredder was the most impatient one. He got up and paced along our side of the beach of the lake. Another 10 minutes went by, listening to everything, and hearing nothing. Monkey Feet got a little antsy as well, and started fidgeting. She stretched out her legs after having been sitting on them. Brownface was next. He got tired of being patient, and started doing push-ups like the rest of us were watching, but none of us were. Losing patience after another 15 minutes myself, I hoped that I didn't jeopardize our chance at a spirit totem in general. Did that even happen? We all heard a growl not far away. A spirit had walked up to the lake, and it was a mean-looking badger spirit. It started lapping at the water when it wasn't quickly attacked by the nearby pack. In other words, us. After a couple more seconds, it growled, wanting to start a fight. We had a real spirit fight about to start, the first real one with a natural spirit. We have not practiced a lot of fighting in general. We have practiced a few, but none in the open spirit realm, usually in a controlled area designed for us. It screeched, bared its fangs, growled, and hissed. Fox told us fairly quietly.
Spirits are not always as they seem. It looks small, but we should always try to take them together. If we do handle them alone, we do get some more of a possible bonus, but it doesn't.
BF blurted out.
Bonus, you say? I can take it.
Fox called out.
No, Brown.
Brownface had already growled back at the spirit. He started to form into the warrior form, drawing the badger spirit's attention. He grew a foot taller within seconds, his teeth and fingers getting sharper. With one leap, he closed the distance, and a jump and a swipe started the fight. Fox called out.
Wolf form, everyone.
The others followed his orders, shifting into smaller predators, but BF had already started the attack, swiping at the much smaller creature. He connected with it, clawing in a first blood strike, but the spirit did not bleed open like a regular animal. The spirit backed away a few steps and darted in for a bite at the huge wolf beast that struck first. The werewolf might have huge claws and bigger muscles, but the first claw dig at the spirit did not drop it. The badger is a sturdy animal, and it is an even sturdier spirit, it just doesn't give a crap. When it got inside BF's arm reach, it bit into his left bicep, and made the huge beast wail. Brownface felt some pain. We had been training for a little while, but he hadn't been a bit like this. A spirit does not bite with regular fangs or claw with plain claws. It fights with the spiritual power that it contains. Apparently, even a badger spirit can have some power, as it took a chunk out of the warrior's arm. Another howl from the werewolf, as his pack mates joined in. His arm losing some muscle in surprise dropped Brownface to the ground, but luckily for him, his pack was there after a short couple of scrapes to help. As his muscle knitted back together, the spirit was chewing his muscle in its fangs and swallowed it. Fox as a wolf, headbutt the badger off of BF and growled back trying to intimidate it. Seeing another few wolves jump in did deter the badger for a second, but the fight had started, and he would never live it down if he ran off, so he growled back at the wolf. Another badger ran up to back up its friend, or family member, maybe. With one strong bite, BF had looked bruised and beaten. His muscles were already knitting back together though. In this world, we were not invincible, but we were fairly hard to kill. Spirits hit hard, even the little badgers. Spirits fight with ferocity in their realm, not just attacking the body, but the spiritual energy of us as wolves. The two spirits seemed to gain a bit of confidence, with the other's presence, and growled as any badger should. The bell had been rung, and the wolves darted into the smaller predators for the fight. Fox and TS fought one, MF and I got the other. BF wasn't used to such a hit and losing muscle like that. He waited to get his health back, regenerating it at his desire. Combat in our wolf forms is not something we have practiced too much in doing, so it was strange at first. Most of the time we have been practicing clawing in our warrior form, but Fox and Tree Shredder's badger was certainly upset at being attacked while getting a drink. Fox clawed into the badger and TS clawed in as well, at a different angle, our claws vicious and rending, ripping open the spirit's stomach, which would of course be fatal usually, but spirits are different. Its stomach just, sort of, stayed open and dangled against the ground. It was a little unsightly, but it continued to fight. It clawed Tree Shredder's nose, but he was made of sturdy stuff, and it didn't look like it hurt much. This was a real fight though. We haven't been in the middle of one as of yet, mostly it has been some practice with spirits that have gone easy on us. Monkey Feet clawed in and swiped at the other badger's nose, but the badger struck back, biting her arm as it swung. MF was looking over at me trying to help, and so was Brownface. Even though he was out, he was watching. I remember that first fight easily. I stuck my butt up in the air like I was about to pounce on a tennis ball. Monkey Feet growled at me. Maybe I looked more like it was playtime, over helping her in the fight. I dove in awkwardly and bit at the badger, not able to get a bite in at a leg. The badger moved out of the way. I didn't want to hurt the spirit, something didn't feel right about this fight, but there was little that would stop it now. Certainly hoping we wouldn't die to small badger spirits. If we killed them, they would just manifest somewhere else unless we were eaten, but I didn't have the heart to dig in. I did put some effort into it though. Shaking my rough and hairy body all over, it helped shake off the nervous energy I felt. Monkey Feet was tired of waiting. She had all of this thing's attention. She hopped from side to side seeing if the badger would dart in. It didn't seem worried about me. I didn't have the conviction of the fight, but the girl wolf did, and that seemed to rile it up even more. It leaped with gusto after the girl wolf. She darted to the side making it miss entirely, but she bit down heavily on the back of its legs and body as it flew by. She pulled the one badger to the ground and it squealed as it hit the dirt of the spirit world. I ran up trying to help, trying to prove I had the guts for it, but Brownface jumped in, pushed me aside with one huge arm, and clawed the front part of the badger's body. With one half in her teeth and the other half set to chunks from a huge warrior's claws, the spirit went limp in her maw. Spirits don't have natural blood, but spiritual energy that flows out of them as they disperse. When MF's jaw clamped down on less and less meat, she tasted that energy, and it certainly was a jolt of spice. Not like a lump of meat, but more like gravy with a bit of caffeine in it. She licked her maw, savoring the taste. She growled up at BF, his huge claws came inches away from her face. BF looked down at her, and gave a shrug like it couldn't be helped. I got up also after rolling to a stop from Brownface's push. A few coins clanged on her face. When the badger fully dispersed, it made her flinch before they hit the ground. She didn't see that coming, but there were more important things going on. Fox and Tree Shredder had a bit more trouble with their badger. It kept on hopping around dodging their swipes and bite attempts, and it even got a claw swipe in as its face darted in for a bite and pulled back with a scrape. Were we a pack, or were we a pack? Brownface, Monkey Feet, and I circled far around Fox and Tree Shredder to box in the badger. It didn't have anywhere to go. It could no longer hop too far to get away from the two wolves that were hounding it, so it stood its ground. One bite came in from Tree Shredder, it dodged. A bite that came in at another side from Fox, it rotated its body in the air and swiped under his chin. It was a small scrape for Fox, but he certainly was tired of this fight. It finally realized the other badger wasn't around, and it hissed and growled at the two that kept it bound. The hair stood up on the back of its neck and its body vibrated in anger. Looking at each of the targets, it still saw the big man-beast with spirit juice on its claw, and its body had mostly knitted from where it hit him the first time, and it wanted some more revenge, and maybe a little more of that wolf meat. With the speed of a rocket, it jumped back and landed on Brownface's chest, digging into his chest and fur. BF howled again, trying to say something as a wolf, but it came out in gurgles. Vocal cords aren't the first thing you think of in warrior form. He grabbed the badger and pulled it off, squeezing in his claws. The badger bit his hand, and the wounds on Brownface had opened back up, after nearly fully healing. Trying to help, my wolf maw snapped awkwardly trying to bite the badger, but only caught the bottom of BF's arm, which made him growl back. From the accidental bite, BF was being worn down, and some accidental friendly fire made him fall on his butt. He was able to keep one claw of the ferocious badger, but it was snarling and biting the air trying to fight back. With one claw out of the way, Tree Shredder got a claw in to damage the badger, and when he backed off, Fox chomped down on the bottom half of the badger and it finally slowed down to the wounds it had sustained. Lifting his maw, Fox was about to bite down hard, but Brownface was right next to him and he swiped at the spirit with his big claw, forcing it out of Fox's mouth onto the ground a yard away. As the adrenaline-filled fight drew to a close, the small humanoid spirit appeared back into our area. It was looking down at the board, and said,
"Spirit found."
It looked up, then looked back at the board, then looked up.
"Wait."
Then it disappeared in a puff of smoke.